Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Spark Tank Coaching Live Sessions. As always, joined by Bram LeGroux, the Muscles from Brussels. Bram, how are you today?
Fantastic, as always.
Fantastic. Always energetic. Great to see you again. I love the tie. Yep, dressed up for the occasion.
It's new.
And Kylie, welcome, Kylie.
Hi, thanks, guys. Look, good to see you. Good to see Bram this week.
Likewise, I missed you guys the other week.
Actually, how was the trip away? You went to was it SeaWorld that you went to?
Gold Coast,
or something, or?
I was very much in the backyard of Kylie's, being in what was it, Water World and Dream World and Surfers Paradise and Broad Beach and all those places. So we had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Yeah, family time, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done, mate. Well done. Great to see you. And Kylie, as always, great to see you as well. And looking forward to, I think you're releasing your own book pretty soon. So we're talking about that soon too, right? So
yes, I know.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening with you guys. I haven't gone on a holiday like your good self.
And you haven't written your second book yet.
And mine's coming up in a few months. But anyway, today's topic, we are talking about how to communicate and influence others. So Bram, your topic today, take us away.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, earlier that I missed out when you guys were with John Catcher. But yes, the topic of communication is one that is always so dear to my heart. And the reason being, we're all people and we deal with other people. And sometimes dealing with people is easy. And then there's certain occasions as a leader, as a client-facing person, as a rep, as an advisor, even as a partner, a spouse, and so on and so forth. There's certain people that we sometimes have difficulties with. There's friction. There's a little bit of a bit of hesitation. There's sometimes a bit of resentment that we feel, or we feel being wronged, and so on and so forth. And that is happening in all organizations, in all countries, in all cultures, because people are people. And we have our own makeup, and it doesn't mean that our makeup is the one that other people have, right? And so I love the topic of helping people to use communication, not just to get things done and get great outcomes, because we certainly can, but it's about the psychology. How can you read people and connect with them at their level? Just like back in the old days, if you guys remember, the radios where you just had this knob that you had to turn. And if you really didn't tune in really well, there was always a little bit of a crackle in the sound. Well, I always like to use that as an analogy for people, because most of us are doing still that today while tuning in with people. And we got a lot of cracks and noise and interference. And we're trying to tune in with this one person, but it's not seamless and easy and straightforward. And so over the years, as you guys know, graduated as a psychologist, been working with people around the world, teaching all sorts of stuff. But the communication bit is probably still my biggest thing. I love it. I thrive on it. And more importantly, I love people to teach them how to do it in a shortcut way, because you don't have to do like me, study 7 years psychology and then all the other stuff that I've done afterwards to just get there. Sometimes short and sharp can really make a difference. So that's basically the little segue into it, Arthur. So I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, that's a great topic. Kylie, I'm going to ask you to contribute. I've got some ideas and thoughts around communication as a broad topic. Is such an important skill. But anything from you, Kylie?
Gosh, you know what? So much, but I know we try to keep these.
Only got 15, 20 minutes, right? So.
To me, and this is for all the listeners out there, is that, communication is the foundation of leadership. Okay. If you do not get this part right, okay, we just can't achieve our visions, our goals, our mission. Okay. People get confused. They get frustrated. They make up their own stories. They become disengaged. They become unproductive. And they feel like they don't really know what they're doing. So I often see people just being busy, as opposed to with that real clear focus. But I know you run programs on this, Bram, and I know they're amazing programs. And for me, I shared some of the problems that I see around leadership communication. But what are some of the problems, the pain points that people come to you for when they want to do a program like this with you? What do they go, oh my God, I just want to, what is it?
That's it. Well, great question. I'll give you one quick example of a financial advisor that I helped out, actually down your side of the country as well. His name is James. Actually, you guys probably still remember him from one of the Spark Tank sessions. But anyway, James is one of those financial advisors that really likes to work with high net worth individuals. And, we all know if you do that, there's not that many that you need to do business with to have a really great year. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, James was working on several deals and he was cooking them up, but he wasn't converting them. Guess what? He came to my program, which is called Communication Mastery. And within, I think, a month, while he was actually doing the program, he converted 3 of them, worth 6 figures to him in fees, right? Really big deals. And so this is the thing. You don't know what you don't know. And seriously, most people really underestimate how much money, if you're in sales, for example, how much money they're leaving on the table until they finally have the penny drop in my program and they say, my God, now I can see why I missed out there, why that didn't work, why I had friction with this person, why that was too hard to get across the line, and so on and so forth. And from back to your point, Carly, as a leader, it's not sales, but you can still measure things.
Of course.
The other day, I had a business owner basically share with me that he finally had great candidates apply for his role that he just had a hard time filling. And why? Because he finally got into the psyche of the ideal person for that particular role, whilst previously he just did what he did naturally, which is just write an ad the way that he normally would do it, that was well and truly reflected in his DNA and his style, but it wasn't attracting the right type of person for his business. Time and time again, until he finally rewrote the ad together with me in the course. And guess what? The next week, 3 great candidates, all of them perfect. He had to turn away 2 of them, and he did it with pain in his heart because it took him years to finally get 3 people in the same week.
Yeah, so anyway, so get that bit right, isn't it? It's, it doesn't matter whether it's for a new job or someone for the company, whether it be leading, whether it be your vision, whether it be sales. Nothing happens until something's communicated, yeah?
That's it. And it needs to kind of land.
Yeah, it needs to land.
Look, my thoughts, communication, will make or effective communication will make or break you and all your business and your relationships. As a constant reminder, I regularly listen. So, in the world of podcasts, etc., I've actually made I love this topic, by the way. I've actually made a very conscious decision that any podcast that I default to is always about communication. You can never stop learning about how to be a better and more effective communicator. In terms of steering a large group of diverse individuals, such as I do, with my dealer group business, is your ability to lead that group of people with diverse needs, diverse wants, diverse objectives. It comes down to your ability to be an effective communicator. Be non-abrasive, but at the same time firm and clear, and also demonstrate good values and principles and leadership skills. So you're constantly learning, and you've got to be able to adjust. I think from a default position, most of us have a default position on the way we communicate. So if you think about many people in this in our group or ourselves as business owners, we're in this constant fast-paced decision-making mode. So it's like naturally we may think we're good listeners, but one of the first key steps to being a good communicator is to be an excellent listener. So you're in this fast-paced environment. You've got 1,000 people or 1,000 decisions to make a day, and it's like to fit that all in, you just go boom, 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 boom. But then what you're actually not potentially doing is, in that exchange and that communication with that person, is you're probably not being as effective as you could, because they've come to you not necessarily for a solution, but just to be heard.
Yes.
So our natural default, I guess, position is to give a solution and move on. They already know the solution, but they just want you to listen to them and actually, hear them out. And then in doing that, you learn more about the issue itself and also build that relationship with that client. So, I mean, effective communication starts with good listening. And I think we just have to be conscious of that, because in many of us, like I said, are in this default position where you just go bang, 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 bang.
Hell yeah.
The other thing as well is just patience is absent. Today, I'm finding that people are less patient. They're less willing to listen for long periods of time. And if you thinking how that's kind of morphed over time, it's because we're all getting bombarded with all these little infiltration techniques to grab our attention. And so we're constantly saying, oh, how long is it going to take? And because you're always thinking about what's going on over here, because you're so used to having all these ways into your space. Listen to someone at great length. That communicator has to be upfront with the value sooner than later. And how you do that is what's going to grab that person's attention, because I firmly believe that the greatest commodity today is someone's attention. That is what everyone is battling for. And so as a communicator, really the success of a communicator is your ability to get your thoughts and feelings across to the person receiving that message effectively. So your feelings and your thoughts about a matter to that person effectively. And the communication isn't about us, the communicator, it's actually about them. So, usually when we communicate, we're thinking about potentially, ourselves, but what we've got to do is actually shift that mindset and actually communicate, because it's all about them. And one of the things you can probably use, I found to kind of break down that attention wall, is actually lead with empathy. And leading with empathy, I found, is a great way to grab that attention and shift that, the communication direction from, coming across as being about me wanting something, and it's all about you, and I'm trying to help you. And so using, empathy and structure, storytelling, so having a clear beginning, middle, and end in your communication, so taking people away from where they are and getting them into the space of where they want to be is kind of what the whole storytelling and that structuring of your communication should achieve. That's kind of what I've thought about prior to this meeting, so they could effectively communicate what I think makes a good communicator in this forum.
So I hear structure and empathy and thinking of others. So you're living what you're preaching, mate. Good on you.
No worries. Yeah. But so that's it's a subject and a topic that I think is really intriguing. I love it. And so like I said, I could be listening to so many podcasts. I've got my headphones at least on my head at least once a day, because I'm in the gym. And my podcast topic of choice is always about communication, because you never stop learning from others about how to be a better and more effective communicator. It's a great topic.
So true. You know what? I really like to kind of tune in with something that you said earlier, which is the one where you said about listening. I find that listening is sometimes really a bit of a lost art, connecting to that patience thing of yours as well. This morning, and the reason why I'm dressed like this is that I went to a networking breakfast this morning, and I went to listen to a person who had built a business from scratch and turned it into a 250 retail stores business before he sold out just 3 years ago. So I wanted to learn from this guy. Now I was looking around the room, and it was like 100 of us in the room, maybe 150. And
let me get it from everyone's kind of doing this, like they're looking
exactly.
It's crazy, right?
I thought like they're paying to be there. They're spending not just the money, but their time. The reason why you're there is that there's somebody there that's got something to share. And then they were on their phones. And I'm like, my God, are people so addicted to their dopamine hit?
But that's the point I was making earlier. It's around attention is the greatest commodity today. And there's all these things that are infiltrating our communicators' effectiveness, because there's different ways into that person's attention. It's that case in point.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So it's definitely there. The attention thing is a big one. But I think back to the topic of today about influencing, you're right that you want to empathize with people, but ultimately, in order to influence, we as leaders, as Kylie said, as business people, as whatever, salespeople, advisors, and the likes, we have a duty to connect with people.
Yeah.
Connecting really is where the key is, because we talked about goals earlier, KPIs, culture, achieving something with teams and the likes. You don't really get everybody to chip in and support and even lead it and own it until they feel connected to, which means forget about all the logic, forget about all the great plans, the great ideas, the best products, the best services, the best value proposition. All of that goes through the window until people, as you said, Arthur, feel a certain way when you're trying to communicate with them.
Look, I hear what you're saying, Bram, but look, my observation with what you said before is the presenter, with all due respect to the individual who's obviously been very successful and done great things, if he's going around the speak around and he's got an audience where they've paid a ticket and the audience is looking the same, I would say from an outsider looking in, his effectiveness in his communication may be a bit lacking. Now, that's not to say that, it wasn't a good content, but understand your audience and in terms of becoming a more effective communicator, sounds like there's some things that you probably lacked. But that's the battle today. That is the battle. So I think more training, more education, more like all these little tips around, like I said, what I found in terms of my experience. Sorry to cut you off.
You're right.
I said is really around connecting with the audience, obviously empathy, but knowing your audience. So I wonder how much work he did prior to actually understand who he's talking to, so that the opening 3 minutes actually attuned to the majority of the people in the audience, so that he will grab their attention. Did he even say, the housekeeping, hygiene factors, put your phones on? I don't know. Like, that's the battle today. And you can imagine that when you're communicating digitally. Put that layer in front. So everyone's adopted this new way of communicating. Yet, with that being in front of that person physically, how do you control people on multiple endpoints through a digital platform like Zoom or this, and to grab their attention for 20 minutes to communicate something that you're hoping to help them with? So this is, I think where we're probably years ago, we felt that most of us were effective communicators. And I reckon that if you have not worked on that since, you're probably not an effective communicator anymore, because of the advent of what's come up since.
Good point. Kylie.
Yeah. And that was partially my point, Arthur, is that communication takes work for the person. Okay. So I think, I run a free workshop every couple of weeks on communication. It's just a free webinar where we run it via Zoom, and we have hundreds of people registering for it every single year for the last 3 years. Okay. So I know how many people want to work on communication. I know how many people want to work on leadership or change or whatever it might be, but it takes work, doesn't it? It takes work. It takes actions, and I ran a workshop this morning on habits, and I said to everyone in there is that you can't just manifest this stuff. You can't just go, I want to be a great communicator, and then voila, I'm a great communicator. You've actually got to work towards it. And there's a whole lot of areas that you have to work at, that preparation, that structure. There's frameworks for communication. I teach them all the time to leaders. There's frameworks out there, but it's the preparation, the planning for you to use the framework to actually be a great communicator. So my question out there is, the people that want to do it, are they actually taking the action to do it?
Yeah.
Because we have to work on it, don't we? Whether it be listening to a podcast, whether it be coming and doing your program, whether it be sitting down and doing that preparation and planning prior to presenting, you can't get good at stuff unless you're actually going to put in.
And there's always something to learn. And so just get yourself into those forums, register. You might be there for 5, 10, 15 minutes, wherever it is, but you might pick up 1 or 2 things. And it's just a constant reinforcement, a constant application, a constant check-in. I think communication as a topic, a subject matter, if you could become a master in communication, it's just going to unlock, like I said earlier, business opportunities, relationship opportunities.
Absolutely.
The whole work. You just become a better all-round person. So for me to close out my comments before I hand over to you two to share your closing comments is understand, for my take, attention is the biggest commodity today. As soon as you kind of get that in your head, that's going to hopefully motivate and give the people listening the incentive to actually say, you know what, that is the battle. That is the battle I've got to overcome. So how do I become a better communicator? Structuring communication, leading with empathy. It's not about us. It's about the audience. Know your audience. Who are you communicating to then assist you with structuring and getting that flow right? And also, how would you rate yourself as a listener?
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah. Or how would your team rate you, even as a communicator as well? I'll be real quick, Bram, because I want to hear about the program as well. I'm definitely keen to find out the dates and when you do it, because I think it's wonderful. I love this sort of stuff as well. But what I say is, leaders, grow yourself in order to grow others. So how are you showing up? Are you showing your teams how you want to communicate by that preparation, that planning, that structure, that clarity, that listening, all those great things you said, Arthur, plus many more. But I'll hand over to you, Bram, and you can lead the end.
Thank you, guys, and Carly specifically out there. Look, there's two questions I have for everyone out there. You know exactly what I'm going to talk about right now, and that is, if you here and there hit your head against the wall with certain people, they're difficult, they're hard to deal with, and you call them all sorts of names, all that it's saying right now is that you haven't found yet a way to engage those people in a successful way. It's feedback. And so the question then is, do you want to keep doing that? Keep butting heads, keep finding it hard, keep feeling that certain people disrespect you or doing the wrong thing by you, or your staff are not shaping up to your expectation, and so on and so forth, then you can do either that, keep going the same way, or you say, I want to do something different. I want to find a way that is already proven to work elsewhere, and I'm happy to invest my time and money into it. If that's the case, I would love to talk to you guys, because Communication Mastery has been running since 2013 around the world. Great success stories. In fact, we have a whole testimonial page with videos where people basically say, this is the difference it brought to me as a leader, as a business owner, as a spouse, as somebody who's trying to make a difference in the world, and so on and so forth. And so even as an employee, it works in so many different ways. But if you would be looking for it, let us know. We'll make sure that there's a link in there so that you can check out what people are saying. And if all you do is just keep doing, like we said, listening to podcasts, they only will only get you as far. Like Carly said, it takes work. Our program is 7 weeks. Why? Because it takes time to bolster your communication skills. And that's all I'm going to say today. Appreciate everybody watching. And
fantastic, Brian. Pop the details in the chat. Look, I can advocate. I'm, as you know, taking all my heads of department through your program. So I think we've got our third one lined up now. So definitely, we're advocates of what you're doing, and the feedback has been great with my leadership team. Fantastic stuff, guys. Thank you so much for this week. Great to see you all. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all in a fortnight's time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arthur.